mine. We go way back way back to, I think it was the first time I met Mark. I was working in Maastricht in about 1998, and I was working in an Irish bar called the John Mullins Irish Pub. If anybody's ever in Maastricht, head down there for a pint. It's still there. I think it's changed hands maybe, but it's the bar is still there certainly. And so what Mark is a legendary music promoter in, like myself, he operates in the diaspora. And while I'm down here in Barcelona, Mark has been working the Low Countries for years. So how he turned up was in Maastricht, in this pub, the John Mullins, used to provide the music for the bar, which he did in Irish pubs all across the Low Countries. So so Mark, I'll just leave it like that. That's you introduce it. The legend that is Mark Gilligan. It's been a ride, man, because we both went down a similar path.
Well, it sure is, and still continuing on. First of all, Losh on the dit, Stephen, happy birthday today. Yeah, it has been a ride, all right. It's like a roller coaster, I suppose, which is a kind of a term we would use in our lives quite regularly, I suppose, with the ups and downs. And but I have to say though, today when I look at it, what am I, 21 years now with MS?
Wow.
Yeah. Coming into 21 years now. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. I remember the day, I'll tell you something, Mark, right? And this is, I remember the day that you were diagnosed. And that's an odd one because I was Joe Connolly, a musician from...
Oh, yeah, Joe, yeah.
That used to be one of your acts that you would send around all the Irish bars in the Low Countries, and so Joe is a good mutual friend. And I remember I left Maastricht and I went to live in Finland for a while. Then I came back to Haarlem. I was working in the William Smith O'Brien in Haarlem, which I think you also put music and stuff in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Joe would have been in my. That was I even got a very good date in that because I was doing it. I was in Finland and I remember coming back to Holland to Haarlem, and there was I literally was in. I was after having an operation on my stomach in Finland, and I literally had I was like a victim of a drive-by shooting. I had holes, all this. I was after having keyhole surgery, but I had to get back to Haarlem. So literally while I was in the airport, changing over in the airport in Copenhagen, I think, the Robbie Keane goal that he scored against Germany in the very last minute, I nearly bust all the stitches. And I walked onto that plane. So that was the World Cup in 2002. So I have dates.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So it's that long, Yeah,
that long ago. And so that's what I'm getting to is in that moment when I got back to Haarlem, Joe then told me, he said that it's a terror about Mark. And I said, what's that? And he said, and he's been diagnosed with MS. Never heard of the disease before. Didn't know anything about it. Like most people, like everybody, why would you know about something that doesn't really affect you? And so that was you, man. And that was literally the day that Joe found out. I was in his car in Haarlem, and he told me. So that's 20 what years ago?
21.
How about that? There's a bit of.
There you go. Yeah. It's like a long weekend, really, isn't it? Yeah. But like up till 17, up as far as 17 years, I suppose from 15 to 17, after the 14, 15 years, it really went downhill.
Right.
The sickness, it took control of your whole life. And robbed you of things like walking and actually millions of things, like this crazy tiredness, whatever, toiletry problems, sexual problems,
Yeah, it's a
relying
hidden disease. All
on
that stuff.
wheelchairs, stuff like that. Your mobility, like getting your wife to tie her, I couldn't tie shoelaces. Drinking through a reed like a child, getting your dinner cut up into little soldiers so you could eat small pieces. That was your life. And then, like yourself, I went off to Moscow and got this life-changing treatment, and I must say it is life-changing.
There you
I
go.
don't, I can tie my shoelaces again, which is great. And
Instruments. You're a musician.
yeah, because I lost the whole left-hand side was completely gone with me. But I'm back playing,
Wow.
I'm playing every day, geez, I'm rehearsing. I just started a new band up in Amsterdam. Um, I felt, well, it's nothing to do with MS, but I felt that playing in pubs was not suiting me very much, carrying what they call sound systems. I can't do that anymore. I couldn't be
In and
bothered.
out of the car.
And, starting a gig at 9 o'clock, finishing at 1 o'clock, getting back into the car and then driving from Maastricht back to Davenham, getting into bed at 5. I'm a little bit too old for that kind of carry on. So I came up with this master plan of playing in theatres. So I go, how the fuck? I just said the word fuck, but I said, how would I get into theatres? I was saying to myself, and I just came up with a master plan. So I now have a tribute band to the Dubliners.
How about that?
Dublin, it's quite. There's no actual tribute band to the Dubliners. We all play Dubliner songs, but there's no actual band playing what the Dubliners did in the. And you've got 5 decades of the Dubliners to choose from, which is, like you're going for years, and they're biting on it. So that's what I'm up to at the moment. So I'm playing a lot of tin whistle, I'm back playing sax, clarinet.
Man, you'd lost all these skills. That's the point.
Yeah.
This is all pre-Russia. You're taught. This is the pre-Moscow HSCT.
I couldn't even drive a car. I lost because I couldn't steer the steering wheel. So it didn't.
It's crazy. And I'm in the same space. I'm a little bit different because I was primary progressive, so I was always going downhill very, very slowly, and that's the gig. I never took a drug ever. I never had to. It was you're just with primary progressive. You're just always going down, and it ends up in the same place. It ends up in all the things you described at yours.
Yeah.
It ends up with the bladder issues, and every time you walk into a bar, you have to know where the toilets are. You have to, what I mean? Your entire life is messed up with this. And I tell you what, man, that was for me. That was the biggest thing, and it was almost immediate. Like 2 weeks later, my bladder was sorted out. I couldn't get over it.
Yeah. The first thing I noticed was the tiredness. So, geez, I'm not tired anymore. That was a weird one, And and then like slowly within 3 months, I was back walking. I remember a good way of explaining it was I remember I was in March 2020, and I was in a nursing home just recover after that treatment. And so the 2nd of May was my wife's birthday, and I got a card for her, and I couldn't write because I'm left-handed, and I couldn't write. And that year I wrote like a little child, learning to write for the first time. I wrote just "I love you," nothing else. I still have there. She still has the card, and this year I wrote an encyclopedia to her, and turned it around. So the difference is remarkable,
Yeah.
And the great thing about it is I work still. I'm 58 now. I'm still working. It's 24 hours a week. I love my jobs. I've got 2 jobs. One of them is running a venue here in Holland as the artist host, and I do all DJing and stuff like that. And then I work 8 hours a week on radio, making radio program, which is remarkable. I wouldn't be lifting things, but
Yeah. But that's amazing. You can, so it's like it's
Yeah.
that life changing, Mark, you know, to
Oh,
get
it is. Yeah, yeah.
unbelievable.
I don't have a scooter anymore. I had did you an electric scooter to get around?
I had for a while, and
Yeah,
somehow I still kind of would like not, I want something different. I want a kind of an e-trike or something. And because for doing distances, like Barcelona is a very kind of small town.
yeah,
I can be lazy, and just the transport system is amazing here. So it's not
yeah,
an issue. It's not a massive issue. I can walk to everything that I need to. But sometimes I'm still in a situation where it's like the damage done is still the damage done. And
yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah,
it's still cumulative for me. So if I have a tough day today, then it's the following day that I'll feel it. And it kind of accumulates. And
yeah,
it's still there. I have neuropathic pain still, and in my feet and legs. But again, it's only really a problem if I go and walk too far, if I go and try and do too
just
much.
all. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
just managing it all the time, but it's fine. And in the end, and for this reason, I unlike yourself, you've left cannabis behind. I've still for that pain, I still use cannabis. But you're a man that's in Holland.
yeah. I know. I
Okay.
know. And, yeah, no, I gave it up 3 years ago.
How about that?
Well, I tell you what happened was after I came back from Russia, I had one joint. Yeah, I had to because I used to smoke from the moment I'd get up to the moment I'd go to bed. With MS.
Yeah.
With the spasms, with the pain and everything. And I suppose it did help a lot, But I had one joint after I came back from Russia. Let's say about 4 months after I had the treatment, and I was around with the mate. Well, one of the first time in the car, I was back. And I came home and I was stoned, as you would be. And Willamette, my wife, went through me for a shortcut and threatened to leave. Said, you fucking idiot. She says, everybody's out to help me go to Russia. Now you're just blowing it all up in their faces. And she frightened me so much. I said, oh, better not do that again. It was like a bold child. And in all fairness, though, I don't really need it anyway. I feel too good to actually take it again, you
There
know.
you go.
Um, and I still do the odd time get spasms, like what you said when you do go over your borders, like with walking or whatever, you exert
Yeah.
yourself. I will get spasms, but um, how I counteract spasms is just through physio, through well, not just physio, but through physical exercise, I suppose. Stretching exercises, stuff like that once they start, and that seems to help with it as well. And it's only and I have noticed over time you get less and less.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be anti-cannabis though. Like in saying that I don't use cannabis, I certainly wouldn't be anti-cannabis. I
Yeah,
know
but
say,
it served you for a while, though, no? It's
oh,
like
absolutely, yeah,
there's a lot
yeah,
of people out there that are, because of the spasticity,
yeah,
and like there's a lot of people kind of really relying on it, But it's not that nobody's dealing cannabis here, but if people want it, they should be able to have it, and that's the only my only position on it.
yeah, yeah,
And it's funny, but
exactly. It's funny when I do read on some of these forums, people are asking me, "What do you take for spasms?" And they're going with all the medical stuff like baclofen and stuff like that. And why wouldn't you smoke a little bit of cannabis? That'll fucking kill your spasms within seconds. And it is true, or take cannabis oil, you
yeah,
know. But what I'm saying, want to say with that is, it's still a huge taboo with a lot of people.
yeah.
Oh no, that's drugs.
Yeah,
Where the
stigmatized.
baclofen, which will do more bloody damage to you than cannabis would ever. You don't get constipated from cannabis. You do from baclofen, you know what I mean? Um, which I think is a much heavier drug to be using. Where cannabis it wouldn't be. You know.
I had a guy on here yesterday, and fibromyalgia,
Yeah.
and he was kind of saying, because we have all these different problems, anomalies within the health systems. And he's saying that it's easier for him to go and get every doctor will give him a script for a bunch of these painkillers. And he's got pain, neuropathic pain going on all the time. And he's going, you know, but I can get a script and I can get these drugs for really cheap, you know, 120, you only have to pay 250 in Ireland or something for a prescription drug. But he said, I have a bunch of side effects of it, and he's getting quite bad side effects. So he couldn't afford the weed. At the same time, he's buying off the black market, and he can't afford cannabis. And so he's kind of in this conundrum, and he's going, well, now I've got to grow. So he's growing, and for himself, for his fibromyalgia, and he's wearing a balaclava in the interview that I'm with him. So it just struck me. It will be on this channel in a couple of days' time, but that's where people are at. Shocking.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, and unfortunately, though, the laws of certain lands is the laws of certain lands. You know, they do prevent. The great thing about Holland, like when I was using cannabis, was I got mine prescribed.
There you go.
And well, I used to have to pay for it though. It was prescribed, and I suppose like 5 grams would cost, let's say, the goods of €60, I suppose. But one night I was coming home from a gig, and of course behind the car, where, you know, the joint in the hand, blown away. Next minute the blue light stopped me, and they came up. This is a great story, actually. They came up beside me, and the police officer said, "Roll down the window, roll down the window." Goes, "Pooh." Oh, is there a problem, officer? She started shouting at me. I said, "Just hang on a second." I said, "I just opened up out of the glove compartment." I said, "Yeah, I just took out my prescription. Just drive home safely." I said, "Yeah, of course, that's why I'm driving only 5 kilometers an hour at the moment. They could do fuck all to me." Anyway, but that's Holland for you.
Yeah, and you were telling me off here that there's a bit of a kickback going on.
At the moment, well,
tell us about that.
No, well, against tourists,
right?
Because a lot of tourists are coming here, you know, with their fucking Holland just to smoke dope, and the Dutch are getting a pain in the hole with it, you know. and I suppose quite rightly, you know, like I know Amsterdam is becoming, you know, it's a sex drug haven, you know, and it always was. And they want to change that image. And so they're making it more difficult. You can't smoke on the streets anymore.
Yeah, I heard that.
That's the latest one. On the border counties between the borders of Belgium and Germany, all the coffee shops, they'll only sell to Dutch nationals. They won't sell to foreigners. Because you were getting all the Germans coming over and all whatever East Europeans coming over buying all their weed.
This was Maastricht. Maastricht was when I was living in Maastricht back then, before around the late 90s.
Yeah.
It was the second biggest selling town in the whole of Holland. It was just behind in Amsterdam in terms of numbers of stuff that they were selling, because everybody's coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
You'd be in the Mississippi, you know, that big massive barge coffee shop that they had down there back in the day. And you'd have people who had driven all across Europe, from France, from Germany, everywhere, we're all sitting around the same table at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're after driving through the night, and as soon as the place opened up, full, you know.
Yeah. So like places like that have all closed down now. You know, and they're very strict about it. Yeah, they tolerate it. Like they'll tolerate 5 grams for personal use, no problem. Yeah. Anything more than 5 grams, of course, you're I don't know, it would be a criminal offence. But they're also very practical, the Dutch. You know, they do realize, hey, it does help you. Oh yeah, you've got MS, no problem here. You want to try cannabis? No problem. You want to try oil? No problem. You know, and if you're lucky enough, your health insurance will pay for it. But if it didn't pay for it, though, you'd be able to claim it back off the taxes anyway, though, when you get the yearly tax, because that's a medical expense.
It's sensible, you know.
So
So,
they are sensible in that sense, and you know, but here again, it's not a debate over here. You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
it's available.
There was always a thing about the brown bar, because I was working in what they call a brown bar. Brown bar is bars that serve just beer, booze,
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
like an Irish pub or whatever. So there was always a kind of a little bit of a polarization in Dutch attitude towards brown bar people and coffee shop people, a little bit. But
Yeah,
I remember because people don't really realize that a whole pile of Dutch culture aren't really that interested in
yeah.
cannabis, and that's fine, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I suppose like yeah, it could be a role model for the rest, you know, the rest of the world how they do it, especially from a medical point of view, because they do see the benefit. Obviously, see the benefit if you're a neurologist prescribing it, you know.
Sure.
On the HSCT front, they're beginning to open their eyes over about that in Holland as well at the moment. It's now being covered by health insurance if it's performed in Holland.
Wow.
They're still at trial situations, but they are making an effort, which is good, you know.
That's a thing. It's taken a long time for, like, you look at the likes of MS Ireland. I've been at their conventions, conferences over the years, the last 5, 6 years, 10 years. I don't know how many I was at. And for years, first of all, they hardly identified PPMS because we're only 15% of the population.
Yeah.
And then they never used to discuss. So I still follow what's happening on the conferences. And only in the last, I think it was 2 years ago, was the first time that HSCT got a mention.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've been instrumental in sending, I don't know how many people, maybe 50 people to Moscow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
The first guy was Guy Darren. He's the very first guy to go to Moscow, and he went there when they hadn't built the kind of the hospital as we know it. It didn't have that big quarantine area and all of that.
Yeah.
We were there after, and they increased it to I don't know if they went from like in the beginning with Darren, there were only maybe 9 patients going,
Yeah.
and that's why it took so long to get through the waiting list. But then they opened it up, and that's why we were all able to join in.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So like there is movement anyway, you know.
I think it's too slow though, Mark. You know, I'm out here and I'm in an institution called SEMCAT, and there's many patients. I have 1,000 patients in the institution, and they've all, like, it's really amazing. I think I was Europe's top #1 research institute, and you have all the different levels.
Yeah.
It's quite sobering for me because I feel quite good now, you know, and they gave me a fantastic kind of program of neurorehabilitation, and it's very sobering to go there because you still have people at all the different levels, people in exoskeletons.
Yeah. But I know it is, and what you're saying, it is slow, you know, but at least they're doing something, you know. I think it will progress. They do see something in it. It's not for everybody, I don't think, this HSCT.
It's quite dramatic.
It is, and, you know, me, you, Sinead Bourne, and a few others have been very, very lucky.
Yeah.
Quite a few of us, though, haven't been so very, very lucky, you know. Well, you've got other options, though, as well, though, you know.
Expensive ones.
Well, Mexico, it's not too far off the Russian price. It's a little bit far away, you know, but I suppose.
It's also out. The reason I didn't like Mexico was from what the research I did at the time. Now this is my news here would be old. That it was outpatient for a lot of it, whereas like in Moscow and the Pirogov was all inpatient.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I went to Moscow as well, for this exactly same reason what you're saying. Yeah.
30 days, get the job done, get looked at. You never be out of care. Never be. I had a bad night. You can't deny. You have to say what it is. I had a bad night 5 days post transplant.
Yeah.
Had a shocking night and sent messages out to the wife. Was going, this is it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's at that point where you have zero. I had zero immunity, and you're going like that is the really dangerous moment. But then they mobilized a bunch of those Russian nurses that don't have a word of English, and man, they had me in and out of a nappy. So it was quite an intense night of action. And but then the great man, Dr. F, appears in the morning. He said he was in contact. He's only living quite close to the Pirogov, and so the care was incredible. And I think you vouch for that as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A 3-star hotel with a 5-star mentality. It was amazing, really. Yeah. I'm glad I did chose for there. Like the other thing about Mexico was, did you remember Darren Bourne? You remember that? Yeah, Darren Bourne wanted to bring me out because to bring a carer to Mexico. So Darren wanted to bring me out. Oh, sure, I'll go with you. Sure, I'll be able to get gigs. He was out going doing gigs, but I mean getting chemo, you know. So that kind of put me off going to Mexico as well, like, you know. So anyway,
Yeah, and it was the outpatient thing. And I have a friend, I've got this comedy club in Spain, and it's shocking. It's the demographic, you know. It's like the demographic is young girls, ladies in their early 30s, exactly just when they're embarking on having a family and all the rest of it, and they're getting hit with it then. Men, it's like myself, very atypical, early 40s. And, so because of that's kind of the demographic of my comedy club in Spain. And so the amount of people that have turned up in the last couple of years that are newly diagnosed, and they've come, and you're kind of going, it's sad, it's so indiscriminate, and it's still, people are being newly diagnosed all the time.
It is. But, and again, I don't know where it will go, like, because the big thing about, I don't know about yourself, Steve, but with me, like, I didn't listen to my neurologist.
Yeah.
Because listening to them at the time when you were going into secondary progressive stage was, well, there's nothing we can do, you know, you just have to just stay in the drugs and see what happens, you know.
Suck it up.
They didn't know, and so I didn't really have a choice. Probably similar to yourself. So I didn't listen, but I just went with I just went for it, you know, and now they look, you know, like I walk into her office today, like, you know, you can see her beaming from ear to ear, you know, and she is actually very pro HSCT today, you know, she's very excited about it, you know, but as you say yourself though, it's not moving fast enough, you know, but I think for people that get newly diagnosed, there is certainly a hell of a lot more hope today than there was in the day that I was diagnosed and the day that you were diagnosed.
Yeah, that's another thing about HSCT, that there's a limit on how far your EDSS and that kind of thing has gone to be accepted.
They seem to be getting, I think once you're after about 6, 7. I was 7 when I went there. So I was really on the, what would you call it? The border. I really didn't expect to be
accepted,
But Fedorenko got excited.
Yeah.
When he done the initial test, and he said, no, you have a lesion or an active lesion at the moment on your back. We can get rid of that.
Yeah.
So I suppose that was it, you know. But yeah, I count myself very lucky.
We kind of have to, and that's the thing. And I was similarly like that when I arrived. I was going down like visibly in my kind of world. I was noticing, and bladder and all that things that were beginning to depreciate quite fast. And so he told me, he showed me on the light box. You know, they have the light box, they point to the x-rays and stuff. And he showed me a lesion on my spine that I had never seen before. And I'd been through years of neurologists and everything to try and find what was wrong with me. And he showed me on the end of his pen, said that thing there, that's the one that's destroying your mobility. He said we can stop that, and so that was my thing. And then so they did, and that's why I will always be forever grateful for the timing, the ability that was, you had to go out and raise the money. That was another bit of crack as well.
Well, it was an emotional bit of crack I'd find, but it is. I just had the woman here around the corner from me raise. What happened was she fell in the street and somebody saw her falling on the street. They picked her up and they gave her 50 grand. This was only a couple of weeks ago, and they gave her 50 grand. It was just a person on the street, didn't even know each other. And so she needs to raise, let's say, another 25, you know. And she started that 2 weeks ago. No, the 1st of May, so not that long ago. She started. I'm helping her with it and all that. She's already gone over 18 grand at this stage, so she's there, you know, basically.
Yeah.
You know, which is great. So it is a very small amount of money, really, at the end of the day. You know,
what price legs? What price is your legs? People will buy a car once in your lifetime, you know. So, you know, it's the price of a car.
It's yeah, exactly. It's very I think 75 grand or whatever it's costing, you know, people nowadays, you know, it's a very small price to pay, really, to get your life back, you know.
Totally. No, it's
and you know, I know it is frightening when you say, how would I get 75 grand? But it's easy. You just have to think outside the box and you'll get it together. And no, it doesn't make any difference who you are, what, you know.
At the start of it, I made a Facebook group just for the people out there. I made a Facebook group called the Irish HSCT. And Darren had just gone. This is what year was this? This was, I went in 2017. Yeah. And so it would have been and Darren actually, I was diagnosed in 2000 with PPMS in June 2016. And literally Darren was who was the first to go. So Darren was literally there in July in Piragov. And I kind of, in a very Irish style, I said to Darren, I said, here, look at while you're there, will you ask your man if he'll bump me up the list, if he'll take me, you know? Because I was after being refused by Heidelberg, by a bunch of places. There was HSCT being done in the UK in very rare situations and very restricted. And then so I kind of said to Darren, I said, look, when you're over there, will you ask your man if he'll bump me up the list? And so, and that's what happened. And thankfully, because Darren was the first, he was the very first of this Irish wave. And so then in those months, then I set up that Facebook group, which was Irish HSCT. And we're all out the far side of it. We should have to get it together.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's quite amazing. Yeah.
We'll pick it and somebody's STEMI anniversary and convene sometime. It is a story, man.
Oh, it is, and it's, you know, it's just that's going back to you know, trying to fund this and all that. That was the great thing about this story, you know, like people will give, people love giving, you know, and whether it's a couple of €1,000 or whether it's 5 cents, people just love giving. And to actually see the result of what, you know, what our investment, let's call it, is, you know, is rather amazing, you know. It makes it all worthwhile, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I have my tribe behind my fundraising, just like all of us would have had our fundraising tribe behind us, people who really helped us out and to get it. You had a song. Tell me, what was the name of the song again?
Oh, The Lodger. Yeah.
The Lodger. Tell us about that song just really quickly.
The Lodger Inside of Me. Yeah, I wrote it. It's funny enough. I wrote it in Normandy in North France one summer. And at the time, I was thinking about two friends of mine. One of them had Parkinson's disease, and the other one had cancer. Namely, Ronnie Drew and Shay Healy, and myself with the MS. This would have been around 2007. I wrote that, and like the three of us, we're fucked, you know. There's no, so that's where the song came about, and I actually wrote it, and it later became the theme song in America of the MS, what's it called, Association of America, and it opened up quite a lot of doors for me, and I lent it to them royalty free. Ireland copped on. Well, no, Ireland didn't really go for it at the end of the day, you know. They were him and Han, you know. Of course, Holland went for it as well, you know. That song ended up getting me knighted here in Holland. So.
There you go. I never announced that. Should be the top of my introduction. We have a knight of the Dutch realm here.
Oh, you do, yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's yeah. So that came through a song, and it's such a simple song. And funnily enough, though, I don't even mention the word MS in it at all. You know,
yeah. That's the key. That's the magic of it.
I see MS as you know, like a cancer, like it's something that comes into your life, and you just have to learn to live with it. You don't have a choice.
There you go.
Know? It's like your mother-in-law coming up with two, you know, suitcases and knocks on your door. Do you know what I mean? And you just have to learn to live with her, you know. It's a bit like that, I suppose. MS.
Mother-in-law wouldn't be welcome, is what you're saying here, Mark.
Well, exactly, you know. You know, oh geez, you know. So yeah. So that's the way I saw, you know, like, and like some of the lyrics, like I put in, like some days are good, some days are bad, some days don't happen, and in a kind of way, that's the way it is with MS, you know. Yeah. But a good day is a good day, no matter what, with the lodger inside of me, and yeah, that's the way I see MS. Unfortunately, the lodger has been very, very quiet lately, you know.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him in about 3 years. I don't know where he's gone.
Fantastic, man, and it's I've got a smile across my face because I know what it is. It's an emotional ride.
Oh, it is, yeah, and it affects everybody as well that's around you. You know, your family,
your families, yeah.
That's the other good thing about HSCT. The biggest bonus for me is my relationship with the family is incredible.
Wow.
You know, they're going around with a happy daddy, all, you know, I'm sure they're sick of it at this stage. Now, when is he going to stop being happy? You know?
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, you get a lot more out of you know.
Well-being, man. You know, it's well-being.
It is. Yeah. It's quite incredible, really. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. So, and also in the fundraising. So you did a gig one time up in Dunleary. And
yeah.
A lot of the artists that would have been you would have been organizing gigs around the world. And I'm just going to name check a couple of them for the people out there, because Leo Kelly, Leo would have been one of the very first acts that you brought to Maastricht when I was working down there.
Here's the lads in the uniforms. That's I remember Stephen saying that, like the number.
Stephen Devlin, yeah.
Here's the lads, because we were dressed in black, you know. We looked like rock stars, you know.
Well, Dublin rock stars. I'll add to that and say that they're just Dublin musos, you know.
But it was quite there was well, you had the creme of the Irish music industry that night. You had well, Tiernan Og you're referring to, that's Leo and Sonny Cundell. Francie Conway, I think, kicked off the proceedings, and like in his band was Keith Donald on the saxophone from the Moving Hearts.
Leslie Dowdle was there.
We had Leslie from Into Anua together with Mike Hanrahan from Stockton's Wing, and then of course was Phelim Drew as well, son of Ronnie's son as well. Yeah, geez, it was a great old night, and like it was very well attended. everybody came out like from aunts and uncles and stuff like that. And then people out of the wood, just like Stano, which it was a very underground artist in Ireland. Like I hadn't seen Stano since I suppose the late '80s, and like we knew each other in the late '80s. It was one of the first records I ever bought, and he obviously heard about the story, and turned up. Jim O'Neill was there, the old DJ, stuff like that.
Just to explain to people, my role was really there as being, at this stage, I was like an ex HSCT, and we had another one in the room that night, Sinead. And so it was like we were there to give a little bit of validation to it. But Sinead was so funny because Sinead was one of the, I met Sinead after Darren came Sinead, and she was right there, the second one going. And it was like, it was amazing the way she was able to shout up out of the audience because she was down the back of the bar.
At this stage as well, you were the first person I ever met at HSCT, basically, in Russia. I'd never met anybody before. And I'm looking at this Sinead, I'll never forget Sinead up on the dance floor, and I go, she's fucking dancing, And like it was an enlightenment for me, I have to, because I remember you, because you really got me through the whole procedure, But anyway, when you're in isolation, you have Spotify. You were telling me about the food, everything. I had everything.
Well guided.
I was well guided, Yeah. Thanks to yourself, because it was only a few hours we had together, but those few hours I got so much information,
Yeah.
I just couldn't wait to go. I would have gone the next morning, no problem, And through to what you said though, it was a very, very kind of painless procedure, Even though it is a heavy, very, very heavy procedure. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to play down the heavy
drugs.
But
this is my new. This is my. You lost all the hair, all that kind of stuff. But this is it's come back badly.
Yeah. Well, there again, I have to wash my hair. You got me up out of bed this morning. Yeah, but yeah, it like true to its form though. It is the most amazing experience I ever had in my life. It really is.
Yeah.
Incredible. Would I do it?
Roller coaster.
Yeah, but a very positive roller coaster as well. I never really got onto the roller coaster in the recovery stages over the last couple of years. I didn't.
Yeah, okay, man. But look, it's been great, and honestly, I think there's a lot there for people who are curious about HSCT and all these kinds of things. I mean, this is the reason that I'm kind of pushing this a little bit is because it's MS Day, International Day. There's 51,000 patients in. I was seeing it was on the news yesterday. I've never seen MS on the news in Spain. It was on the news yesterday. And so it is a moment when it gets a little bit of noise. And so there's a lot of people, every day there's a newly diagnosed somewhere. And
there is. Yeah.
So we've been newly diagnosed, and there's people on the far end that are in the exoskeletons and all the things that are still fighting at the very at the other end of it. So, but the news of the notes here are only of positivity, and people. For me, it was about taking control as well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I had the strength to actually bypass the neurologist and this kind of thing and go for something alternative. I remember saying, "Oh no, you'll come back in a coffin or whatever," And, well, have you got experience of it? I said to her, and she goes, "No," but I said, "Well then, shut the fuck up, go and that's it. Can you support me when I come back, or do I need another neurologist?" And it just went like that. No, of course I'd support you, because we had 17 years of a relationship, being twice a year, and I'm still with her, and you can see her, today, she is very, very pro HSC. She does see the benefits of it.
Yeah,
you know.
but it shouldn't be denied it should be an option.
Oh, I think it will be, and I think that day is coming sooner than later.
Yeah.
But I can understand them as well. Like, they're in their because the thing in Holland is they're doing it in Holland, and it's now being covered by the health insurance. So
that's huge progress. I mean,
that is huge progress.
That didn't exist anywhere.
No, of course, though, you have to be within certain criteria.
Of course, yeah.
The same as the place like the Heidelbergs and the England that you went through, a few years ago. So, but it is progress,
Yeah. Going to leave on that positive note, Mark. Look, thanks for joining me here this morning. This is nuts for me as well, man.
Yeah.
We're about 9:30 in the morning.
Right. Well, that was it.